Hey guys, for those of you that clicked on this and are looking for a deck list for the new starter deck Luffy that just came out in OPO 10, I just thought I'd just go ahead and show you some of the cards I've selected that I've been running that I've found have been really useful in the games that I've been playing. So just getting straight into that, we have our leader, whereas his effect is Dawn times 1, activate main once per turn. We can give up to 2 rested Dawn cards to one of our characters. So going into the actual deck list of what I got here, starting off, I have our OPO1 Searcher Namis, which will be able to search a majority of what we're running into the deck. Right now I'm just running 3 of them, just for more room in the deck for some other cards, but I think 3 has been working out pretty good for me. And then moving on to the next 4 of that I'm running the other Nami, the Starter Deck 1. So it has a really good use case in this deck as far as utility wise. It's an activate main. We can attach a rested Dawn to our leader or one of our characters. And I just find that in this deck, being able to run a lot of activate main and then cards that also move your Dawn around is like what we're trying to do with our leader. And so it's really helpful just being able to, on turn 1, being able to find our Nami and being able to use our leader effect right away on our following turn. In the starter deck, there's also the other 3-cost Nami that recently came out, where its effect is also activate main. You can give up to 2 rested Dawn cards to a leader or your characters. I opted out of playing for that. Instead, I'm playing this new OP10 Monet. It has a very similar effect in the fact that it's an activate main. You could rest the character and give 2 rested Dawn cards to your leader or one of your characters. And then you can also minus 1k to one of your opponent's characters. I just prefer to use this just because it's 1 cost lower, and then it's really good for playing out on your, if you're going second, play this out, so on your following turn, just be able to start using your leader effect right away. So I'm kind of liking the Monets more than the Namis, but it's also a very viable reason to run the Nabis as well if you prefer that. So moving on to the 2Ks that I'm running right now, I'm running 12 2K cards in this deck. And so starting out, I'm running a lot of like 2-ofs just for different utility options in the deck depending on what matchups I'm against. So right now I'm running 2 of the Sanjis. So the OPO1 Sanji is the activate main. You could take a life. Sanji will boost himself by 2k going up to 5, and then you can attach 2 rested Dawn to himself. So he's just a potential 7k swing that when you play out, your opponent needs to deal with. And then moving on from that, I'm running the new starter deck Sanji as well as the other 2k. So it's on play effect. It allows you to select one of your Straw Hat characters. Then your opponent cannot block that character's swing for the turn. I'm only running it at 2, and then unfortunately you cannot select your leader, but just having the option to take opponent by surprise is just always a good thing to have in the deck. And then something I put in that I don't see like a lot of other people running right now is this starter deck 1 Brook. I just find that for what the deck's trying to do, it's just a really good option. It's on play, give 2 rested Dawn to your leader or your characters. So it's just more Dawn manipulation, you know, what you want to see in your deck. You just always want to have that option to move things around when you need to if you don't have a Nami or Monet on the field. And then I've seen a lot of people running like 4 of the Makinos. That way, if you're playing a lot of 1-cost characters, it's just an option to boost one of your 1k characters by 3k. It's an activate main. I don't prefer to do that, but it's nice to have the option in the deck, so I'm just running it at 2. And then I got 4 more 2Ks that I'm going to show you in just a little bit, bumping that up to 12 cards in total. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and move into some of the rush options that I'm playing right now. So for the first 4 of them I'm running the 3-cost OPL1 Rush Zoro. Just, you know, it's just always a good staple in a red rush deck. You know, it's just 3 costs, get those 3 Dawn laying down, be able to use your Nami or Monet. You know, generally on turn 1, if I'm going first, I want to be able to see my Nami. And then turn 2, I could play Zoro out for 3 Dawn, attach a Dawn to my leader with Nami, and then be able to use the leader effect to attach the other 2 rested Dawn to the Zoro, so you can swing a 6 and a 7 that turn. So it's just really good rush potential there. And after that, we have the new starter deck Zoro that just recently came out. Really solid card. It's a 4 cost 5k Dawn times 2. It gains rush. And so it also has a really nice on KO effect that when it's KO'd, you can play a red character with 6,000 power or less from your hand to the field. And so the next cards I'm going to show you is some targets that we're running for that at the moment. But just a really solid card. So if you're going second, you could, if you find your Monet, you play that out your turn 1. Then when on your forward on turn, you play this out. You can use the Monet to attach 2 to your Luffy, then use his effect to attach 2 to Zoro. Swinging 2 7s for that turn, just really good. So targets that I'm playing for that, the rest of the 2Ks I was talking about, I'm running this 4-cost, 4K powered 2020 chopper. So it's just really hard to see, you know, if one for just being a 2K, but also if they happen to swing at your Zoro, they KO it, and then you could just play out this 2020 chopper blocker, so it just gives you a blocker on your opponent's turn, but it also gains 2K power during your opponent's turn. So you just have a 4/6 blocker, so that's really good. And then we're running the new starter deck, Monkey D. Luffy, that just came out. Also just really great, has rush. When attacking, you can attach a Resodon to one of your leader or characters or himself. So just being able to attach the leader and then get more Dawn manipulation going and just more rush options to have, just really good. And then I'm also playing the starter deck 1, Monkey D. Luffy. Just another 5-cost 6K rush. Dawn times 2 when attacking. Your opponent can't activate blocker during the battle with them. So it's just really good to see late game when you're trying to close out the game, probably not really expecting it. So definitely been playing that as a 3 and have found that pretty well searchable. Mostly just about everything is searchable off the Nami. The last target that we play for the Zoro, the last 5-cost 6K that we're playing, is the Silver Rayleigh. Just it's another option for a blocker if your opponent takes out your Zoro. It has a good on-play effect where you can draw 2 trash ones, so it's just good for cycling your hand. And those are all the targets that we're playing for the Zoro, all really great cards. Of course, you know, there's a lot of other options out there, and this is just what I'm running, so if there's something that, you know, you prefer, you know, more power to you. So moving on to the top end that we're playing for the deck, just playing the Monkey D. Dragon, just absolute great card for the deck, almost as if, you know, they were meant to go together. Of course, it's a 8-cost 9K rush, and then on play you can give 2 Resodon to your leader or one of your characters or himself, and just find that just really good for closing out games or just trying to get characters off the board. Just really great utility there. And then I'm running 3 10-cost Monkey D. Luffys. Again, don't really see a lot of people running this card. I feel like a lot of people have opted out for the 10-cost Shanks, the Rush Shanks, which also is just a really busted card, really good card, and I can see why people would prefer to go for that. I just like, 1, this is searchable off your Nami, and then 2, you know, once per turn, when your opponent activates a blocker, you can pop one of their characters with 8,000 power or less. So I just really feel it also helps out, like, towards late game if they're low on life and they don't want to take hits and they activate a blocker. A lot of new blockers coming out in these new sets that you have the option to just be able to pop essentially whatever on the board. So I kind of prefer that over the Shanks, but I can see why people would want to play that as well. The last 4 cards that I'm playing are events. I'm running the new Gum Gum Mole Pistol from the starter deck. Just really great utility. It's on a, so it's a main, give one of your opponent's characters minus 5k power, and if you control a character with 6,000 power or more, you can KO one of their characters with 2,000 power or less. I was playing against a Blackbeard player the other day, and I just happened to have 2 of these, and not a whole lot of swings at the moment, so I played out both of these. So that's minus 5k twice, that puts him at 2k power, and I was able to just pop one of their teaches, and that alone just was able to win me the game in my favor. And so it's just really good. Also, you know, say like you're playing against green, they played the kid, and you have on the field, you know, you could activate main, rest Monet, you know, give 2 Dawn to your leader, whoever you want to give it to at that time, and then you can decrease it by 1k, and then you can play one of these, and you can minus it by 5. So at that point they're like a 2k power, you can pop it, or if they have a Rosinante, you can pop the Rosinante blocker and then be able to swing at the blocker, or yeah, the kid, no problem. So definitely just a really great card to have in the deck, and I'm just running it as a 2 of, and of course it has this activate main, it's just activating its effect, so it's just really good to see as a trigger too. And the last two, just playing 2 rad beams, feel like there's really no explanation needed for that. You know, just 1 Dawn counter. One of your leader characters gains 2000k power during the battle. Of course, if you have 2 or less life, you know, you can bump that up to 4. So just a really great card to run to the deck. So hopefully that was insightful. I'm going to try and just post some matches that I'm playing so you guys can see the way that I'm playing the deck and what I like to see. And so hopefully you find this helpful. And of course, you know, I'm always open to suggestions. So if you guys have things you'd rather see played, just let me know. Thank you, guys. Okay, so for the first game here, just going to kind of go over some of my gameplay and what happened in the first game. Turn 1, didn't see my Nami or my Monet, and of course Nami can't search Nami, so that's unfortunate. So we pick up the Sanji right here. And the game plan is, since I have a bunch of smaller bodies I see in this this game right here, I'm playing the new Sanji that just came out, which is another option that you could play over the Zoro. But the game plan looking like here is I'm probably going to play, I'll probably end up playing out the Monet here, just so I can set up for my future turns, maybe playing out like the Zoro next turn. Either that or go ahead and play out the Sanji. Both viable options. Sanji is good to get out there because, you know, if it's popped, then it's just going to, you know, cycle my hand, give me some card draw, which is really good. If I were to play out the Monet right here, I'd just be playing it out for future plays and probably not using its effect right away. Just so that way they don't swing into it. Of course, there's always the option that they might be able to use a dot Q somehow. Looks like we just play out the Sanji. The Sanji also being really good during your turn. You gain 3k power, and then, you know, of course, when it's KO'd, you get a draw card. So they're able to counter out of that, which is really good. Any kind of cards that we can get out of their hand is really good. So they instantly KO'd that. And they're going to swing it for 5. Generally, I don't mind taking life early on, just because I want to be able to see my pieces that I want to play and be able to get my rush going as quick as I can. So I'm going to go ahead and take this life. So now we see the Zoro. I think since we are going to have it active on anyways, we'll just go ahead and use the leader effect there. And we're swinging with the Zoro first, just in case, you know, they get like a finger pistol or some kind of trigger to be able to pop the character. Rather just swing with the character first and get a 6k swing afterwards. And that's simply just going to be as far as we go. Again, they're trying to stay healthy. You know, we're playing a rush deck, so they're trying to just stall out as long as they can so they can start getting their blockers on the board, which we're totally okay with, because the less cards they have in their hand towards the end game, the better for us. So generally, you know, I don't mind keeping the Zoro on the field as long as possible, as long as we have some targets to play out. But generally, just for its KO effect, generally people aren't going to swing into it right away. So that helps us a lot. I think next turn, we're just going to counter out of that because it's just a 6k swing. We got, you know, a few 2ks in hand. And then I think for the next turn, I want to be able to play out another rush Luffy and just get more momentum on the board. So again, they're just trying to stall out. They're going to play their Vasco, just trying to get some blockers on board. That's okay. I think next turn I definitely want to try and get the Luffy off the board just so they're not constantly gaining advantage from that, seeing more pieces. I think they're trying to determine whether or not to use their leader effect or not. Not a lot of on play in our deck, so I can see why they would be curious about that. I think right here I'd be totally fine with just playing the Monet out. We can use the effect to give the 2 rested to our leader to get the plays going and attach 2 Dawn, then minus 1k to one of their characters. Plus, just generally when they see that on the board, they're going to want to take care of it next turn, but I think I'm kind of okay with just sitting back. As long as I can just get the Luffy off the board, I'm pretty comfortable with where I'm at. We can -1, make this card a back to 5k, and we can swing 7 at it, and that's pretty good. Demand a 2k and a 1k from them. With only 3 cards in their hand, they're definitely not going to want to counter out of that. We could even swing the Nami at the Luffy, just so, you know, because they're probably not going to want to block that. It does put us in a position for the new OP10 Liberation account, where they could pop 2 characters, but if they decide to pop the Zoro and the Sanji, one, I'll just be able to draw a card off the Sanji, and then also play out a card since I have targets in hand to be able to play that out for the on-KO effect. So they do end up playing that. We always want to do the Sanji effect first, see if we can draw into a target for Zoro, which we do. And I just feel like that's a better target, just in case they swing to my Monet. I want to be able to still be able to move my Dawn around. We're still pretty healthy as far as life-wise. 4 and 4. They only have 3 cards in hand, so definitely feeling all right. Very comfortable taking another life here, and we see another Zoro, so might end up playing that out. Seeing as there's really no use of playing out the Luffy that can't be blocked right now. Probably on a later turn. They didn't use leader effects, so I can definitely use the dragon if I wanted to. I think just right now I wanted to have more bodies on board just in case they play their teach out next turn. So we play out the Brook, just a small body to play out, give the 2 rested to leader, and then of course give 2 rested to the Zoro to be able to get his rush. We swing 7, we give another Dawn, I guess, to the Nami, just so for another potential swing. Try and get as much life out of their hands as we can. Take as much life and also just get as many cards out of their hand as possible. I think with this much setup and with this many small bodies on the board, it's really going to be hard for them to protect themselves throughout the rest of the next few turns. Pretty much have the win at this point. They could play out another Liberation if they wanted to, but it's just going to, you know, not be able to put many bodies on the board right away. So feeling pretty comfortable at this point. So they do play out another, the one that will negate the Zoro, so you can't use his effect. And then they'll probably, what they could do is just swing at the Luffy, so I have less swings, which I'm perfectly okay with. I have plenty of counter in hand, so we'll be able to save him from being attacked. So unless they had like a, I don't know, perhaps like a finger pistol or something, I mean, he's gonna survive. And they just end up surrendering, so GG's.